You know, it must have been an amazing sight. Passover was approaching. Let's imagine for a moment that we were amongst the crowd on that weekend. The Roman imperial procession was coming in to Jerusalem from the west. We were beginning to get used to this. In recent years, the Romans had become frightened of us, of what might happen over Passover, as we remember the original Passover and the escape from Egypt. It was a display of sheer power. Cavalry on horses, foot soldiers, leather armour, helmets, weapons, golden eagles mounted on poles, the sun glinting on metal and gold, and the sounds, marching feet, clinking of bridles, the beating of drums. It was power in extreme. Sinister. Of course, the little boys were excited, as boys always are at the sight of soldiers. But most of us just turned our backs on them to show our contempt. And then we hear a different sound, muffled at first, coming from the east. We looked hard. There were people singing and shouting. And someone riding on a donkey. The shouts became clearer. Hosanna, they were shouting. And some were yelling out other things. Here comes Jesus, the one who fed 5,000 people on a lunch pack. He's the one who healed a lame man. He restored a blind man's sight. He turned water into wine. He taught in the temple and amazed the rabbis there. He loved the children and honoured them as much as grown-ups. That crowd had lots to shout about. We look back today and we begin to wonder if this was a deliberate counter-procession led by Jesus against the Romans, making the Roman procession look slightly ridiculous. But there was more to it than that. This was a conflict between the kingdom of God and the Roman imperial power, between a kingdom of love, peace and justice in response to the one God's true love for all mankind, against the Roman Empire with its cruelty, its greed and its domination of all its subjects. It wasn't only imperial power on display, but the theology of the Roman emperors. They thought they were divine. They believed and acted as the supreme God. No wonder they were trying to suppress the Jewish people. Jesus came to show us a different way. Well, we find ourselves today under a lockdown not so different from what the Romans were trying to impose on Jerusalem. But here, the lockdown is to protect us from a very real danger as far as possible. In Jerusalem, it was to maintain human power by any means possible, including murder and extortion. Sadly, we will be reminded this week that that crowd was fickle. Their cries of welcome quickly turned into calls for Jesus' execution. Two processions with very different messages. Jesus' kingdom of love versus mankind's kingdom of human power and destruction. Which procession are we in? Which procession do we want to be in? That's the question of Palm Sunday. And that's a question all who are following Jesus need to ask ourselves from time to time. Our Sunday school children were learning to sing a new song for today. Let's sing along with them now in our homes as we listen to that.